Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about what I want to read in June before I take a nap. Hi guys, welcome back. I don't know if this thing's gonna focus on me. If you didn't watch my vacation reading vlog, if you don't follow me on Instagram, go do those things. I'll wait. All right, you now know that I I'm recovering from the vid, and I'm tired, but I want to get some content out to you guys. I am feeling better. Thank you to everybody who offered me well wishes and checked in on me. I am feeling better. I just very tired, and I did try to work out today for the first time in over a week, and that was extra exhausting. So I am going to take a nap after this. I wanted to jump in here and say hello, give you guys some content, but also I wanted to talk about my shop my shelves for June. So let's build that TBR. Hopefully it's not as overly ambitious as May was. I did do really well in May, as you'll see when I do my wrap up, but I didn't get to everything. So there's a couple things that I'm going to quickly talk about in this Shop Your Shelves. Get all the mic stuff out of the way. That were also on my May Shop Your Shelves. You're going to see them here. So I'm not going to talk too much about them because I think I talked about them more in that last one. So if you guys want to see that one, I'll try to remember to put a card up above with the May Shop Your Shelves. But anyway, let's get right into some of the things that I either have finished or am currently reading. Some of these things I'm not going to talk too much about because we do have plans to discuss them on the podcast because I did read them with Naomi. So we'll start right on top here with Just by Looking at Him by Ryan O'Connell. I did finish this. I did make an Instagram post about it, so you already know that this was a 5-star read for me. This is a fantastic, I think this is his debut novel, but he does have a memoir called I'm Special and Other Lies We Tell Ourselves. He also writes for TV, and I believe he's in the show Queer as Folk. So this book is phenomenal. It has a ton of disability rep. It's obviously queer. It's about a man and his relationship with his current person, and then also with himself, and just it's phenomenal. It's funny. It's kind of dark. It deals with a lot of like heavy hitting things. That's what I mean by dark, like alcoholism and stuff like that. But it also is really, really funny. Like it's really, 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 really funny. And the sex is like, this might be like downright raunchy. Anyway, so we're going to be discussing this on the podcast TBR Lowdown. If you don't know, I do run a podcast with my friend Naomi. And so we both read this, and we're going to be talking about this in an upcoming episode. So make sure you're subscribed to that so that you don't miss our breakdown of this. Also to be discussed on the podcast is Vladimir by Julia May Jonas. I did read this by the number of tabs. I did enjoy it. I have many thoughts, and can't wait to discuss this with Naomi because this book is like just, I want to say like delicious, because she talks about food a lot. It's like deliciously psychological and dark in terms of delving into the psyche of this woman. So you have you have a married couple, and like they're both professors at what I can only assume is Skidmore, because it sounds like Skidmore when she's talking about it, and that's where this author teaches playwriting. This married couple that has had basically like a kind of open relationship for a really long time because her husband has affairs with students, or has had affairs with students up until a certain point when it was no longer legal under like university rules to have affairs with students, and she's had a few affairs over time, and it opens with basically like her meeting this new professor Vladimir, who's also married, and who she starts to become obsessed with. And then at the same time, he is the husband, our main character's husband, is basically like on trial at the university for all of his escapades with students in the past. Like a lot of students have come forward and been like, they're not happy. So that's kind of like setting the scene, but it's a really interesting look at like aging as a woman, value as a woman who is aging, motherhood, professionalism, sexuality, what does it mean to be married, cheating, monogamy, probably more monogamy than cheating. Like are we really a monogamous species? It's a very interesting book. It's quite short. It went really quickly, and these two are going to be fun to break down on the podcast. I think these are good choices for us to sort of buddy read on the podcast. I also finished Kate Bateman's A Daring Pursuit, which is the second in like a little romance. It's really hard to see this. Weird. Okay, maybe over here. Okay, yeah, better over here. There's like a little bit more light on this side from the window. Anyway, so this is A Daring Pursuit. Sleeping with the Enemy has never been so much fun. This is the Ruthless Rivals romance series. This is book 2. I do need book 1 at some point because her brother, in true romance, you know, Regency romance kind of COVID brain. Regency romance style. I don't know. Doesn't work. My brain doesn't work. Her brother, well, yes, was the center of the first novel, and so then she's the center of the next novel, and then I think one of her other brothers is going to be, you know, for the next one, yada, yada, yada. But this is an Enemies to Lovers. It's set mostly in Wales. There's a little bit of London in it, but it's mostly in Wales, which I kind of liked because I feel like everything in Regency romance is set in London, and that's great. Love London, but like let's get some other cities or places. And we have Karis, who's this, you know, sort of brazen, ballsy young lady who happens to be ruined and being blackmailed by the person who ruined her. And that's her big secret. So she never wants to get married because she doesn't want anyone to ever find out. And then Tristan's her like childhood friend and neighbor, and they have like a family feud between the two families, you know, just to give some good juicy goodness. And they have this lovely Enemies to Lovers thing going on. He finds out that she's being blackmailed and what she's being blackmailed for. He seems to be very upset that her first and only time that she's ever going to have relations were terrible. So he's like, I'm going to show you the ways of good love making. And of course, romance ensues. So it was just a lovely book for being really sick. Surprising book that I finished was Steve Martin's An Object of Beauty. This was a book that Naomi chose for our Smash or Pass episode, where we built each other an episode, a TBR. Welcome to COVID house, where everybody coughs. We built ourselves we built each other a TBR based on the first paragraphs of random books from our shelves. And so this is another one of the books that she chose. I read the first one, which was Lolita. We all know how that went. And then I read this book, which is by Steve Martin. And this was a really shocking read for me because I did not know, and I shouldn't be surprised just knowing how talented Steve Martin is, that like his writing would be this phenomenal, and his writing on like art. So this book basically is the narrator's sort of obsession with this woman who is an art dealer, and she and you follow her through her career, and they are friends, and they like they do something together that slowly throughout the book you find out what exactly they did together that wasn't exactly I'm going to say kosher. By following her sort of rise and sort of fall in the art world, you get to see a lot of sort of behind the scenes on how the art world functions, which is very interesting. And how, I don't know, it was just, this was a very like New York sort of pompous, but very like artistic and esoteric kind of group of people. I don't know, it was a feeling. Like this book was very definitely a feeling. It's a beautiful book. It's an interesting book. Our main character, Lacey, is she's very strong and independent and someone to almost admire, but also there's something very cold and manipulative about her. It's very wonderful capturing of a very specific sort of echelon of New York. And I mean, I think Joyce Carol Oates on the back here actually likens this to Edith Wharton's Age of Innocence, which I do understand because there's this very Edith Wharton-like capturing of New York and of a certain group of people. And it was absolutely fascinating. I kind of just like needed to know. You're watching this character build and build and build and build and build, and you knew there was going to be this moment where sort of things fell off of a cliff, so you're waiting for that moment. But then also throughout, as they talk about different artworks, there's photos, full color depictions of these artworks in the book, which just makes it so much more I don't know, there's something that engaging as you're reading, because like it's not just a description of Andy Warhol, it is a picture of and you can look at it while he's describing it and talking about it, and it's just, oh, it's phenomenal. If you love art, I think this is the perfect combo of like art and literature. It was beautiful, loved it, gorgeous. That made up for Lolita. Name me. I am currently reading Godblind by Anna Stevens, which is a grimdark fantasy where you have these red gods and you have these other gods, and they are fighting. There's two groups of basically people that are fighting, and there's two different religions, and the red gods are brutal and cruel. So here's how they describe the red gods. And it says, the Dark Lady and Gosfeth, god of blood, deal in death and mutilation. Their coin is pain and fear. When do you pray most fervently? In battle? No. Or when the knife slips and you're suddenly looking at the insides of your own body. Fear and pain bring our minds into alignment with the afterworld, and so our gods demand fear and pain during worship. If you aren't shitting yourself at a sacrifice, you don't know the gods. So this is just deliciously dark, and you have like, there's sibling stuff that's happening here. There's sort of like vision people that can see into the future. I am really enjoying it. This is really good. I am like 150 pages in. It's a trilogy, I believe. So I just have the first one for now because I kind of wanted to go down this road of like women of grimdark, because we all know like Joe Abercrombie. But I wanted like, and Mark Lawrence does some, but I wanted to see who like the women of grimdark were. And so far I'm very satisfied with this. I also started Shiggybane by Douglas Stewart. I'm ready for this to be sad. This is a Booker Prize winner from 2020, and I guess Shiggy is this young man in Glasgow. He has a really screwed up mother, and it says it's an epic portrayal of a working class family and a queer childhood from a masterful novelist. So I'm really excited to get further into this so I can have some thoughts. I know that Naomi didn't like it, but I guess almost everybody else who's read it has loved it because, I mean, it's a Booker Prize winner. So yeah, I'm really excited to get a little further into this and see where I fall on the Shiggybane front. I'm also reading Half-Blood Rose by Alyssa Cross-Smith. Thank you again to Grand Central for sending me an arc of this. I did love This Close to Okay, which is the first book that I've read of hers, and this is really, I feel like I'm also going to love this as well. It's about an estranged husband and wife. From what I can tell so far, it's about an estranged husband and wife. The husband's a writer. He writes a novel that I guess is a little too autofiction for the wife, and revealed too many secrets about her husband that she had never known, and they had been together for like 20 some odd years. And so she flees to Paris to stay in her parents' apartment in Paris, because her parents are these like artists that travel around all the time, and they just have this beautiful apartment in Paris, which, oh my god, when I was going through my divorce, if my parents had a beautiful apartment in Paris that I could have just escaped to, that would have made divorce so much better. So she's there, and she's going to hopefully go on this kind of eat, pray, lovey journey of understanding and self-love or whatever that she needs to go on to figure out if she wants to stay in this marriage or not, figure out who she is, figure out what she needs, and all of that. So I'm really excited for that journey. It just feels like it's going to be awesome. I am doing a separate reading vlog for the Mindfuck series by St. Abby, or good old Stabby. I'm about 60 pages in. I'm going to try to finish book 1 today. It is 5 books. This will be its own reading vlog, and we can talk about this, but this is essentially I feel like I've talked about so many things so many times because I just filmed this clip for my first clip for this week's vlog, and it's basically the last 3 books. So this is a indie sort of cult classic stabby romance, murder porn, I don't know. So our main characters are Lana and Logan, and Lana is a serial killer who is trying to get revenge for something that happened in the past, and she's killing all these men that were involved in it. And Logan is the FBI agent that is assigned to figuring out who's killing all these people, and they fall in love and have sexy times, and that is what I've gotten so far from this. And I have thoughts. I'm trying to be kind because the author, who's not named St. Abby, as you might figure, has passed on, and apparently in like pretty remarkable circumstances, so trying to be kind. things I haven't read yet. Let's talk about this lovely book right here. This is The Women's House of Detention by Hugh Ryan. And this is our TBR lowdown pick for June. And I am so excited about this. This is about this women's prison that was in Greenwich Village from 1929 to 1974. And it's this singular history of a prison and that queer women and trans people held there is a window into the policing of queerness in the radical politics in the 20th century. This just sounds so amazing. It talks about the people that lived in this prison, which includes people like Angela Davis and Andre Dworkin, talking about what it means to be queer in prison, and it makes the case for prison abolition, and I'm just very excited for this. This book sounds phenomenal, and more people need to talk about it. It's also beautiful, and we're really excited to talk about it and break it down. So if you guys want to read along with us, please pick up your own copy, get it from the library, whatever you'd like to do, and you can join us on the live, which will be in the early part of July. We'll announce it when we get a little closer to the date. I have a whole other pile of books. From the Smash or Pass TBR, I still need to get to 3 books. So I'm going to start hopefully soon The Dust of 100 Dogs by A.S. King. This sounded dark and delicious, and we did talk about what this is about in last month's Shop Your Shelves. But essentially there is a pirate that gets cursed, and she's like on the eve of having everything she ever wanted, and then she gets cursed and she has to live 100 lives as a dog, or 100 years as a dog. Now, having fulfilled her curse at last, she is a contemporary American teenager, and all she needs to escape her no-good family and finally establish that luxurious life of her own is a shovel and a ride to Jamaica. So it just sounds really interesting. I read my first and only A.S. King last year, or was it earlier this year? Anyway, I read Switch. Loved it. I want to read more from that author. I still need to get to House of Mirth, talking about Edith Wharton. So this is definitely coming up closer. This will come up soon. I think maybe when I finish one of the 4 I'm reading right now, I'll slide this guy in. I'm really, really interested in what this is going to be like. I read a bunch of Edith Wharton back when I was in high school, like many of us did, and I know I didn't read The House of Mirth, and Melissa Fabos talks about it a lot in Girlhood, so I'm really curious to read this now as an adult and with Girlhood in the back burner of my mind while reading this, and seeing how Edith Wharton handles like feminism. I'm really interested, and this kind of comes up with Vladimir as well, and we can talk about this with Vladimir because she is an English professor, and she talks a little about Kate Joban. There's a lot of these like old classic sort of more feminist writers that wouldn't be considered feminist today, but when you take them in the context of what they were writing about, it is a really, it's as like feminist as you could be at the time. Anyway, a whole nother thought that we can just break down on the podcast, but I still have Cathedral from my library haul, which I do need to get to. This is a chonker. I should start this soon because it needs it, and it probably needs to go back to the library, but we've been sick. Nothing's gone back to the library. Another book that we are hoping to buddy read together and discuss on the podcast is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. This is like the perfect summer romance, I think, and Naomi is starting this summer romance, or her summer of romance, where she wants to get into romance because she doesn't really read a lot of romance. So this, I hope, will be a nice introduction for her to that genre. Everybody I know who has read 7 Days in June has loved it, so I'm really excited, and I was really bummed when Naomi found it before I did, when we were both thrifting when I went down to see her in May, because, you know, fate is what it is. The publisher did reach out to me, and Grand Central was like, do you want a copy of the paperback, because the paperback's coming out? And I was like, abso-freaking-lutely, I do. So I'm really excited to read this, and I will read you the back in case for some reason you don't know what 7 Days in June is. 7 days to fall in love, 15 years to forget, and 7 days to get it all back again. Ava Mercy is a single mom and best-selling erotica writer who is feeling pressed from all sides. Shane Hall is a reclusive award-winning novelist who, to everyone's surprise, shows up in New York. When Shane and Ava met unexpectedly at a black literary event, sparks fly. But what no one knows is that 15 years earlier, teenage Ava and Shane spent one crazy, torrid week madly in love and have been secretly writing to each other in their books ever since. Over the next 7 days, amidst the steamy Brooklyn summer, Ava and Shane reconnect. But Ava's wary of the man who broke her heart. Before Shane disappears again, she needs a few questions answered. With its keen observations of creative life in America today, as well as the joys and complications of being a mother and a daughter, 7 Days in June is a hilarious, romantic, and sexy as hell story of two writers discovering their second chance at love. I just love the idea of them writing back and forth to each other in their books. It sounds very much like Night Circus, with the two of them building these rooms and all this other stuff and that flirting, but it sounds like it's actually gonna have love and romance. Like it's actually gonna be a romance as opposed to about a clock. Am I still salty? Yes, a little. I still need to get to The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I don't know if I really need to explain this, but I do have an irrational fear of reading this, thinking that somehow I'm going to lose my mind if I read Sylvia Plath. So I need to bite the bullet and just do it. So I'm hoping this month I can just get The Bell Jar. I have this feeling I'm also just going to fall in love with Sylvia Plath. So I don't know. I don't know if I need more obsessions, but I do need to get to it. I do need to know. I need to tackle this fear that I have, this totally irrational fear. I only have 2 more books, don't worry. I'm finally going to get to Ruth Ozeki's The Book of Form and Emptiness. I've been waiting for this audiobook hold to come in from my library, and it's finally here. I think I hauled this for you guys many, many moons ago because I found it on Pango for not too much money. This is a novel about growing up and relationships with things, and it just sounds really crazy. It says, with its blend of sympathetic characters, riveting plot, and vibrant engagement with everything from jazz to climate change to our attachment to material possessions, The Book of Form and Emptiness is a classic Ruth Ozeki, bold, wise, poignant, playful, humane, and heartbreaking. It just sounds so good. Essentially, Benny is this child who loses his father, and then he starts to like hear the voices of things in the house, like a sneaker, an ornament, a piece of wilted lettuce, and this ends up becoming this like exploration of grief, because the mother starts to like become a hoarder, and so then obviously like the son is just losing his mind because like all he can hear are like the things talking to him. So it just sounds really lovely, and I can't wait to dive into it. And this was shortlisted for something, the Women's Prize maybe, I can't remember. The last thing I'm going to try to get to, if I can get to it this month, because I do have the ALC from Libro, thank you so much, and thank you to Red Hook for sending me this. This is The Ballad of Perilous Graves by Alex Jennings, and this is a debut that sounds fun, like just fun for summer. It's a wildly imaginative debut from one of the most exciting new voices in contemporary fiction, and it's set, and look at this map, it's set in New Orleans. Nola is a city full of wonders, an alternate New Orleans made of music and magic. It's a place of sky trolleys and dead cabs where haints dance the night away and wise women help keep the order. To those from away, Nola might seem strange. To Perilous Graves, it's simply home. In a world of everyday miracles, Perry might not have a talent for magic, but he does know Nola's rhythm as intimately as his own heartbeat. So when the city's great magician starts appearing in odd places and essential songs are forgotten, Perry realizes trouble is afoot. 9 songs of power have escaped from the piano that maintains the city's beat, and without them, Nola will fail. Unwilling to watch his home be destroyed, Perry will sacrifice everything to save it. But a storm is brewing, and the hate of all hates is awake. Nola's time might be coming to an end. How does that not sound fun? In what world does this not sound like it's a good freaking time? Oh, I'm excited. If I can squeeze this in, I'm definitely going to try to squeeze this in this month. That's a lot of books. I'm tired. So that is everything I am trying to read this month. I don't know how that's going to go, but we're going to try. If you've read any of these, I'd love to know what you thought. If you want to read any of these, let me know. And you can always share your thoughts with me on Instagram or down in the comments, or you can follow me on Storygraph. I believe I still have a link in my description with my Storygraph. I'm doing a buddy read for the Mindfuck series with at least one of my followers. So if you want to join us, you can join us on Storygraph and we can share all of our thoughts there. And of course, you guys can wait to see the spoilery reading vlog for all my thoughts on that one. If you guys enjoy bookish content and if you want to see more discussions of books and bookish life, please consider subscribing. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in my next video, whatever it may be, because it's my channel and I can do whatever I want. Bye.
So just sit with me, talking to the night until the morning, building chemistry. I don't think I ever wanna go come closer next to me, trying to find another